In the past 10 years, the Nigeria's real GDP growth averaged 2.01% in the second quarter of 2023. Our economy grew by 2.51%, which is a slight improvement compared to the 2.31% growth in the first quarter. So we are growing despite the world challenges. The country's GDP per capita is estimated at $4,700. The economy is increasingly being diversified, with the services sector contributing 58.4% to the GDP, while the agriculture sector contributes 23.0%, and industries only 18.6% as at the second quarter of this current year. Our economy is making great progress with reforms, particularly in areas of the fiscal management of our economy, monetary policy, and the market as the determinant of prices. The economy is projected to grow by an average of 2.9%, almost 3%, but the current Nigerian government is looking beyond that, looking at 5–6%. But looking beyond, even making 2 digits as against 1-digit growth, to let you know the ambition of the current administration in Nigeria. We have a new boss in town who means business. And this event is happening at a good time, or like a time when nothing will happen. This is a time where all things will happen. And this is a time for the Banja region to get into Nigeria and make a difference and tap into the potentials that we have there in Nigeria. Opportunities. The economy has huge opportunities and potential. Of the estimated 1.3 billion people in Africa, 1.3 billion people in Africa, Nigeria has over 200 million, about 230 million people. We have over 200 million people, between 200 and 230 million people in Africa alone. And in Nigeria alone, and Lagos State has over 23 million people. Lagos alone, 23 million people. Some say 24, some say 25 million people. So that's the place to be and make money. Why allow only Indians and Chinese to make all the money? Why you can also be part of those who make money. The economy is so good because our population, the size of 225 million, which is about 17.5% of the region in Africa. Out of every 5 Africans, 1 is a Nigerian. That's how big we are. With an annual population growth of 2.6%. You can see our potential in the next 5–10 years as a nation. That population is enough to challenge you to come and do business in Nigeria. And the beauty is that about 55% of our population is between the ages of 15 and 64 age bracket. 55% population. So we have potentials for growth. It's not a city, it's not a country of old people. More than half of the population is between the age of 16 and 15 and 64. Our economy is put in categories as a mixed economy, of which agriculture is very, very key. Trade, telecommunications, manufacturing, oil and gas, finance and insurance, real estate, and construction are some of the major sectors. I have a paper here that will take a year to read, but let me save you the pressure of being here for a year to read my paper. So I'll just make sure I just give you the highlights of the paper. I've told you in principle the major areas and many other areas. We are open for business as a nation under a new controller in charge of our economy, a man who is putting the right people in the right places to make things better. The oil and gas is a country's status, is a major area of business. Oil and gas. We are the key country in Africa in that area. We are very, very powerful in OPEC. So why sleep? Come and make money in Nigeria. Gas demand in Nigeria is another big one, projected to grow at 22.5 billion cubic feet per day by 2030. Gas. Those are areas where we can make good money in Nigeria. Also in relation to marine and blue economy, out of the estimated 40,000 kilometers of coastline in Africa, Nigeria makes up about 853 kilometers of that coastline. This coastline equals a maritime area of 290 square kilometers, or almost 1/3 of the nation's land area of 924 square kilometers. Beyond the strategic importance, 80% of Nigeria's coastline is made up of oil and biodiversity-rich Niger Delta region of Nigeria. There's a lot of potential in the area of oil and gas in Nigeria for you to come and make money. You are aware of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. With the 1.3 billion people in Africa, Nigeria alone has over 10% of that population. That shows how powerful we are in Africa. Apart from the population, we also have the mineral resources and very energetic people, hardworking people and young people. I want to appeal to you to close. Invest in Nigeria. Nigeria is the largest market and has the most to benefit your region. I strongly appeal to the businesses and investors in the Balkan region to come and invest in Nigeria, a land of possibility and profitability. Two good P's, profit and possibilities and probabilities. Three good T's, three good P's you can look at. There are several investment opportunities, and the current administration is doing a lot to remove the red tape in business, open up new opportunities, and try to enhance the ease of doing business in Nigeria. In the past, just concluded G20 meeting, like my sister has told you, our president expressed Nigeria's commitment to play a very crucial role within the G20 going forward and contribute to shaping a more equitable world. He called for global unity and cooperation in tackling pressing challenges, fostering inclusiveness, and establishing a fairer world order. The arc of the meetings he had with the leaders in the US brought us close to $14 billion in investment. And he went to UAE. Most of the challenges we had in the past, they've been removed. And because UAE have been missing Nigeria because of our potentials in Africa, Now they are coming big way to invest a lot in Nigeria. I want to appeal to you, take advantage of these open doors. This is a Nigeria now like we have never had before, because it's under a new sheriff. A new sheriff is in town as the person in charge of the Nigerian economy, a private sector person, a former boss of an air company in Nigeria, is now our president. In 2 seconds, one good project I brought here, which I've already told our ambassador here, is the first Lagos Convention and Exhibition Center. Is the first one. It's being done by the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and the Nigerian government and the Lagos State government. Lagos State government gave us a big area of land in Lagos. This will be the first in West Africa. Once we have it, thank you. Most of the countries in Africa, in West Africa, will come to do conventions in Lagos because of this possibility. So a lot of people have been showing interest in this. I told them that the Banja region take advantage and come and be our major support. It will be investors from here with Lagos State government as a shareholder, you also as a shareholder, and Chamber of Commerce as a shareholder. We have a vehicle company that has been incorporated that will handle the business of this convention center. It's in the new Lagos of Lagos, near the new Lagos airport, that is being planned to be constructed. And now work has started. So this is a bigger area. I want to go back to Nigeria to see that we have investors that will do this. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. OLAWALE-COLE. It's good to hear about the dynamism, growth and youth of the Nigerian economy, and especially Lagos, and to hear about the plans for Lagos Expo. When would you plan to open the Expo?
Well, as soon as we start, that will determine when it's a project that would cost, that would take a couple of months, like 2 years, 24 months, they're about to construct. Because it's a big thing. We have the hospitality, need the hotels and everything, and the surrounding. And it's a new part of Lagos just coming up. So in the next 2 or 3 years, once you have the funding right, that place, that can be in place. We don't have anything close to it in West Africa.
Super. So certainly Serbia is hosting Expo in, I think, March to August 27?
27, yes.
So certainly there are investors, infrastructure companies that could be taking interest in other Expo-related projects around the world, specifically in Africa, if there's no other service or facility that can provide that. So that's certainly something to look into. At the beginning, Dr. Michael made mention that the intention today is to leave with pragmatic actions that can improve the trade and investment relationship between both regions. So I'd like to ask the floor what they think could be done to make such improvements, if anybody has anything to say about that. I risk asking a question of no one answering, of course. So, sure.
Hi, my name is Siniša Andrić and I came from Bosnia and Herzegovina. We didn't wait for such a meeting. We already a few years ago made a great cooperation with companies from Nigeria, and thank you once more for inviting us on such a great event. My question is for Dr. Michael, can you target few key points, because inflation rate in Nigeria, which is a fast-growing market, is in this month, I think, on an annual basis, like at 25%. And even if it's most fast-growing market in the world, and in Africa especially, how will it reflect, on your opinion, on the key points for investments that Her Excellency mentioned in her opening speech? Because, you know, we have a few different industries here that are sitting, so we have to see what are your thoughts on those specially based. Thank you.
I'm not quite sure I got that question very well.
So we were talking about the inflation and how that may affect investments in Nigeria and the economic prospects of Nigeria. Is that if it will affect?
Yeah. Well, we all know that inflation is now like a global terror. America, that been used to things like 1%, 2%, 3%, now have up to 10% at a point. Now, coming back a little bit. Also, England, that will talk of 2%, 3%, is now looking at 7%, 8%, 9%. At the point of well over 10%. The world is trying to tame inflation, but we have not been able to tame the way we behave that caused war. Because we know that the global inflation we now have been really challenged by the Russian-Ukraine situation, and that has made things very, very tough. So the more we can live in peace with ourselves as people of the world, the better the world will be. Because totally, the inflation element of the world will now carry. The major contributor is the Russian-Ukraine situation. Imagine if that is not there. We by now will be having an easier world to manage with inflation. In Nigeria, the inflation figure has gone a lot higher, over 20%, to what we have in the past. But like I've said, the beauty of us in Nigeria is that we have a new sheriff in town. They are trying to do all they can to tame inflation through good fiscal and monetary policies. And I'm very confident that in the next 1 or 2 years, we'll have a brand new nation. Have a brand new nation. I'm very confident. All things being for what we are seeing of the actions taken so far, we have a brand new nation. So inflation will be there, but I also know that the world will be as better or will be as good as we all make it. So the more of conflicts we avoid in the world, and the more peaceful the world is, the better the world will be for all of us. You know, so for inflation, Nigeria is doing her best to tame inflation, because they will have impact in the cost of all these projects we are talking about. So what's happening there, the figures are very high compared with even the high 7%, 8% you have in Europe or America. We are still far, far from there. But we are doing everything possible to reduce that figure and break it down.
Thank you. So I'd like to move on to Your Excellency and for you to give us a summary, really, and a presentation on the roadmap for foreign investment in Nigeria and the strategies that Nigeria will be putting in place under the new leadership. I think it should work.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, James, for giving me the floor again. I'm not sure this is working. Okay. So I'll just like to follow on what the last speaker has talked about in terms of areas that would be of importance. He's helped me very greatly by giving an overview of the economy in Nigeria. But I want to maybe now focus more narrowly on the things that might be of interest to the group that is presented here. The main sectors that I think we want to focus on that are fast developing in Nigeria and that fit in with the president's approach. Of course, we know about petroleum and agriculture, but I want us to look at the telecommunications area, which is very, very important. IT, Nigeria is doing fantastically well in IT. And why do I want to focus on that? It's not just investment in Nigeria, but it's also collaboration with Nigerians outside Nigeria. Because on the African continent, at least, Nigeria is always tops in terms of what it's coming out with in the area of technology. In the area of fintech, the technology related to finance and banking, much has been developed there. So you find now that in the rural areas, in the smaller towns in Nigeria, you are able to do immediate banking, which is something that in many parts of Europe and America you really don't get. You can go into the markets in the rural areas, many, many hundreds, thousands of kilometers away from where you are, and do your shopping. I do my shopping here in Nigeria. I ask somebody, I say, look, I want to buy X, Y, Z. So what happens? She goes into the market, regardless of where it is. She sends me a picture of what I want to buy. Do you like this? Do you like that? Ah, no, no, no. Yes, I do. Okay, send your money. Immediately, it is sent. The buyer sees it, collects it. The goods are exchanged. The market, your account is debited, and that's done. The central bank also has started like a kind of wallet where you can immediately have access to. The closest thing I can say is crypto, but it's not. That's not the right term, but what it is a currency system that the central bank has developed. So this is an area that is calling for investment in Nigeria, but more importantly, there's avenue for collaboration globally. So I want us to look at that for the people in this room. Secondly, pharmaceuticals. The pharmaceutical industry is growing leaps and bounds in Nigeria, and in this region, this is an area that is one of the things that this region is strong in. I know that in Bosnia, for example, Bosnia is very strong in the area of pharmaceuticals. I'm just going to talk about Bosnia because I'm not so sure whether it is as strong in other areas, but these are things that Nigeria is doing extremely well in, and a lot of homegrown pharmaceutical industries are developing, and that's an area for investment. And Mr. Dada, please, I have this document, please. No, you don't need to come. But I'd like to have it circulated because it tells about incentives that the government is giving to different areas of possible investment. Then real estate and construction. There's a lot of scope for real estate and construction. And I want to take that in collaboration with tourism. This area, the Balkans, is very well known for its tourist attractions. Croatia is known all over the world. And so strategies and technologies, and so those are things that can be discussed. We've talked a lot about Lagos. Lagos has very similar geography to this area, and so there is possibility. Of course, Lagos is an island, and so we've got all the waters, the Atlantic Ocean, and there are many pockets of water right through Nigeria, which I'm going to come back to. So how can you make Nigeria more of a tourist attraction? We've now also got a new Ministry of Tourism, which tells you how important this has become for Nigeria. We've got the first Minister for Tourism. This is something that Nigeria is taking very seriously. So for people in this room, these are areas in which you want to consider. Online education, and of course, energy, solar energy, and other kinds of renewable energy. It's no secret, Nigeria is very seriously challenged in terms of its supply of electricity. So this is something that we need to get done, and we need to get done very quickly and very efficiently. This is an area for collaboration here. I want to also take this time to say Nigeria at this moment is not so much interested anymore in straightforward buy and sell. You come, you buy raw materials, you take it away. No, we're looking for long-term investment, and that's why there's incentives to encourage you. One of the things that is easier now, and which is why Mr. President was so successful in the UAE, is that with the removal of subsidies, again, something that we can talk about later, with the removal of subsidies, which has had a big impact on inflation because things have become very expensive, the foreign exchange has gone high. But the big benefit is that now it's very easy to get your money out. So as an investor who has invested money and wants to be able to take out their profit, their dividends, it's much easier to do that now, And with the stabilization of the economy, when it's more, it has understood the impact of the removal of the subsidies, you're going to see a stabilization of foreign exchange rates itself. So yes, the first few months, 1 year may be a bit rocky, but everything is going to be going down in the expected way. So as I said, removal of the subsidies on oils and the collapse of the two-tier system means that investors can get their money out. I just want to say one more thing. We've talked a lot about Lagos State, but I want to remind you that Nigeria is a country of 36 states plus the Federal Capital Territory. And each of those 36 states has its own strengths in terms of its resources. So there are opportunities in different areas. If you're looking at the north, cattle rearing, and in the south also, different types of cattle. So I know that, for example, in this area, and Hungary, I know, you've got pork and you've got chicken. So there are areas where those types of animals can be reared very easily, and there's opportunity for collaboration in those areas. And each, maybe I'm not sure whether each of the states, but most of the states now have an international airport. So communication in terms of movement of people and also movement of goods is much easier. And there's been development of infrastructure. So movement of goods from one state to the other state has been greatly improved. So I thought these were the things that I should talk about for the people who are gathered here today, to help you in making your decisions about the areas that you think can be of interest to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ambassador, for clarifying the sectors of most interest for investment and trade. And certainly, we had a few inquiries from participants that weren't able to attend today, from North Macedonia, Montenegro, for example, that were very interested in investing in or trading in pharmaceuticals. We have somebody coming later interested in developing fintech, digital banking, and payment platforms to improve diaspora remittances back to Nigeria, for example. We have inquiries on educational technology and medical technology to improve remote delivery of services in education and healthcare. So just to open out to the participants here, whether there are other sectors or any comment people would like to make about how, investing in Nigeria and whether that's an opportunity.
Hello, my name is Arjana. I'm president of Association for Advancement of Clinical Research of Serbia. So I understand, because Serbia is connected to some countries in the European Union, that clinical trials in Nigeria are also growing, that your agency for drugs and medical devices is showing real success lately, having a lot of trials. I've seen studies which giving exact numbers which are really growing, and Nigeria is really, let's say, one of the countries, definitely country leading in this area in Africa. So I believe maybe this is one of the fields, because you've mentioned pharmaceuticals. And I believe this may be important for us, because we have, for example, know-how of Europe, of FDA, America, and we can connect in this area, through both knowledges, and I understand that there is a lot of new pharmaceuticals coming to Nigeria, and I believe that we will have also Nigeria's companies, pharmaceuticals companies growing. So can you please just comment?
If I understand you right, you want me to comment on pharmaceutical
and the special area, which is development of pharmaceuticals.
Okay. I'm going to combine pharmaceuticals also with skin care and cosmetics and so on, because that's also something that is closely allied. In Nigeria now, the areas of generic medicine, particularly the ones for headaches and so on, that's very, very well established. And a lot is going on there. So I think what may be of particular interest would be machinery, equipment that will be needed to do it on a large scale. What I see is happening is more small scale. So the ability to scale up and get in at the big business end, that is where there's opportunity. I think there's also a lot of opportunity in terms of research. Research is not a sexy area, so people don't like to kind of go into it. But if there is people who are if there are people who are willing to go into research, there's a lot of government incentive in there, and the first, I think, 5 or 10 years afterwards, you're allowed to make your money. That is something that is obviously long-term, but there is a lot of scope there. There's also something that is going on in Nigeria that maybe people don't know much of, and that is in the area of genetics, an African genetic database. In the past, we've been relying on genetic database that is for maybe Caucasian, Western cells and so on. This is not my area of specialty, but I do know that. So this is an area that a lot is going on. There's been a lot of investment there, and it's been on for at least a decade. So this is another area where there is room. And Nigeria now has begun to realize that we actually must spend a lot of time investing in research. And it's not just research for pharmaceuticals, if I can just expand. There's also research for plant development and substitution of what do you use? Fertilization, using bacteria as opposed to chemical fertilizers. So in that area, I think that's what we'd like to see.
Super, thank you. Certainly, I think we've got a couple of people active in medical technology, and I believe they'll be making a contribution in some of the workshops later. Okay. Thank you also for clarifying and, about the investment incentives, and we'll look forward to circulating that amongst the participants later.
Sorry. Well, just to add one or two. I want to say that the setting in Nigeria now is open to virtually all business possibilities. If there's no business you want to do in Nigeria that is legitimate, that you cannot do now. An area, artificial intelligence, is becoming a major area now of concentration. So I'm just saying that AI and many other things are coming up in the area of telecommunication, in the area of tourism, like my sister said. There's so much to do in that country. Yes, we are the biggest economy in Africa with that level of GDP. But that GDP level can be doubled, in fact, can be tripled easily if you open up our potentials. And there's so many of them. Many of our young people are now outside creating wealth for other nations and also for Nigeria, because they give back to the society through FDI. We have now seen that the biggest money we make now is from Nigerians in diaspora paying back into Nigeria money they are making abroad. So I want to appeal to you, this is not the time to sleep anywhere in the world, in Nigeria, over Africa. And Nigeria is a place to be. That population of close to 230 million is very, very tempting to many countries of the world. We can sell to over 200 million people. That's a lot of potential. Please, I want to appeal to this region. This is the right time to wake up and come. Big time to Nigeria. You can't go wrong. And let me close by saying, when you are coming, make sure you deal with reputable companies who are members of the Chamber of Commerce. It may be Lagos, like my sister has told you. Every part of Nigeria has potentials. There's hardly anywhere Nigeria that you don't have something to do. In the area of mining, a lot is happening in the north of Nigeria, the mining. Big time. And people are just staying there and making money. And they are mostly foreigners. Silent money, good money in the area of mining. So what are we doing here? I'm very happy this is coming up, but don't let it be a talk show. Let it be a show that will be backed up by action lines, action timelines. What we want to do, and how we want to do it, and at what time we plan to do it. So that in another year or two, you can see business between Nigeria and the Balkan region becoming something important to mention in our business relationship experience. So I just want to conclude by saying, any business you have that is legitimate, Nigeria is open. Thank you.
I just want to ask a question. Are there plans some new investments in infrastructure, like electricity or like internet in Nigeria? Because we heard that there is a big issue regarding that, and this is a big issue for the investment. If you want to invest, if you want to build something, or you want to build software, or want to do a research or whatever, you need to have internet and you need to have electricity. And as we know, like yesterday was a big power cut nationwide, electricity problems, so I'm just saying, is there a plan from the government to do something about it, because I think that will bring more investors, some kind of infrastructure project, and you can bring more investors, even you can bring investors for the infrastructure projects like this, so it's a big thing, it's a big deal. And that can bring, when you say Nigeria invested, in infrastructure, then the investors are just gonna come, because they can work easily there. So I'm just asking a question, is there a plans for that, and some kind of development, or just?
Yes, thank you. My name is Tihomir Divjak, and I am satellite communication engineer, involved for so many years in the activities of Eutelsat. There is no fear about doing business in Nigeria because there is facilities from Africa Connect, a filial of Eutelsat that puts internet connectivity with appropriate bitstream connection all over Nigeria and all over Africa. So this is not the problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would you like to make any final?
I'll just say thank you for that additional information. I had mentioned earlier on about the area of electricity. It is still a challenge. It's one of the main areas of focus in Nigeria right now in terms of the infrastructure that has to be improved. Transportation, electricity, very, very important, and various alternative sources of power as well. So this is an area also for investment and collaboration. So it's not just a question of the money, there's also the intellectual collaboration and technical, but definitely this is a priority in the country.
I'm coming from we have a television company, for example, and for us to work somewhere, it's like we need internet and electricity, nothing else. And we just connect software, everything works. We have I will explain you later, we have radiologists in the cloud, and they can, it's a good thing for the national system. It can make a strong national system, and it's a big one because for 230 million people, you have around 200 radiologists, and that's a really small number. In Africa, it's even smaller, one radiologist per 1 million people. I just want to go on about it for that one, because it's my business. But the point is that for us, it's just important to have internet and electricity, because you just need a connection, nothing else. So because of that, I'm asking, and I know it's a little bit, it's an issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ivan. We'll have a chance to talk further about your remote diagnostics plans in West Africa. Thank you. We are slightly overrunning. I think we're going to be around 15 minutes for this section over. But I think it's important that we move ahead. And Mr. JASARSPAHIC, would you like to take us through your plans in Bosnia? And you said that you had some experience of working with Africa. Take us through your thoughts on how we can improve the trade and investment relationship in your market.
Okay, thank you very much. Excellencies, Mr. President, dear colleagues, participants. Before everything, I would like to share with all of you that I spoke here today in this conference. And I will, you know, I'm coming from Federal Chamber of Economy Federation Bosnia Herzegovina. But I think that we need here to speak generally regarding to our region in Southeast Europe or Balkan region. Together today with me is my colleague from Chamber of Commerce Republic of Srpska, also one of our colleagues which is Executive Director of Foreign Investor Council in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Everything which I will speak today, also you can hear from colleagues from Chamber of Commerce Republic of Serbia. Everything is similar, you know, and it's very important that all of us, the chamber system, think about regional chamber system. Absolutely, when we listened about the numbers, 225 million people. In correlation with us, it's really funny to make correlation, you know. We understand it, or for complete Africa is 1.3 million people, 3 billion, yes, 3 billion. It is very, very important. The company, okay, Chamber of Commerce Federation is non-governmental, non-profit association like in all other countries. And we promote the activities from our membership to help them to promote the market inside in Bosnia and outside of Bosnia and outside of region, and try to help them to recognize some additional chance for all of them. This is because this is the great benefit of this event, to introduce each other, to growing up of friendship and make additional business networking. The most important rules of all chambers is networking, business networking. And my suggestion for we will have I expected many additional activity after that, separately, directly, individual, from company to company, and so on. It's very important that always through the Chamber of Commerce systems. In that case, you can prove absolutely in information. In that case, you can find with our filtering the real information about companies, that we can make some additional checking for, okay, you can find in some internet or some other agency financial information about this company. But very important is to listen from people which work together with them. All our secretaries in our association in chambers, we have more than 25 different associations from different sectors. All secretaries work directly with all companies. Because I mentioned that it's important to speak about Southeast Europe as region. You know, this region can use several important resources because it's close to the, if we can mention the maybe most important market, European Union, with 500 million consumers. When we speak about that, you cannot speak about Balkan region or a small region. Because regarding to all our countries, all Central European Free Trade Agreement are for Balkan region, this is so-called CEFTA. It is 30 million consumers. Free trade agreement with Turkey, additional 80 million consumers. Preferential trade agreement with all European Union countries, it is additional 500 million consumers. In that case, we spoke about corridors between one strong market in Africa, a big market as Nigeria, also we mentioned African continental free trade area. You know, also if you have free trade agreement in our region, Nigeria also has additional free trade agreement. It means that these two big hubs can be connected through the Balkan region. You know, from last 20 years ago, all our countries implemented the trade liberalization with European Union, and all Southeast Europe economy, today we can say that they are generally classified as open economy. Accordingly to our geographic position and proximity to European markets, many free preferential trade agreements make our region as very favorable for business relationship. It means if some businessman from Nigeria has to plan to, if I can use this word, attack to European Union, this is the corridor. Balkan region is the corridor because we already had a free trade agreement with them. 65% of all goods produced in this region in Southeast Europe market, 65% produced go to European Union, 15% in our region, and 20% for other. In last 10 years, all countries in this region are focusing on structural reforms in institution, and we spoke about, okay, it's very impressive to listen the numbers of kilometer of coasts, for example, 850 kilometers when we have, 20 kilometers in Bosnia. Yeah. But because that I'm not come in this trick and to speak about our numbers. I will speak about samples, for example. Everybody knows Cristiano Ronaldo. Cristiano Ronaldo drives the special bicycle produced in Bosnia and Herzegovina. This is the sample what is possible in this area. The most popular Sweden bloggers and journalists, both in nature, in forest, the one mobile house, complete produced from this region. A ski championship in skiing. All winners use the skiing and ski shoes Fischer produced in Bosnia and Herzegovina. We are a small country. Complete region is small, you know. But it's today you cannot find, for example, any European brand of car without parts from this region. And this is important. And also, we have complete region has the great experience with working in engineering services with Africa. Of course, during the period of ex-Yugoslavia, but also today exists some company which already work with some of countries in Africa. For example, one of them also work engineering in Siska for terminal automation system for oil and gas institution in Africa. I saw that oil and gas is very big potential. And all infrastructure projects in these sectors, for example, I mean that these companies from Bosnia and Herzegovina and complete from region can be included in this. I have the complete details of this country. These companies, all these companies already make exploring together with us the market in there. And also, you spoke about pharmaceutical industry. Also, it's very important. Pharmaceutical industry in the complete Balkan region is very good. Most of them are exporter. And spoke with them with exploration of pharmaceutical and drugs market in Nigeria. We get information that national regulator, NAFDAC, they has the rule and procedure 5 years plus 5 years for trader in pharmaceutical on Nigeria market, but it's not good. It's not enough for foreign investors, for example. When we spoke with all of them, this is the reason why they don't start the stronger activity in this market. Maybe we can talk about that. And also, it is important with using the chamber networking to recognize so-called invisible cost during import. You know, all country has some invisible cost, but if we work with absolutely open hands, we need to each other to absolutely open all situations. I mentioned that we are a small region, but my colleagues from Foreign Investor Council can confirmation of these sentences. In that case, today, I don't have information that any foreign investor goes out from Bosnia and Herzegovina. You know, we don't have so much, but everybody which are here, they are stable, and 80% of them has the plan to make additional investment. And we need to look each other as I mentioned, with strong potential with this technological trading corridor, you know, between European Union market and African market, that we can be in this corridor.
Super.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think one of the key points you made was around having a regional cohesive strategy to promote bilateral trade. Do you think the Open Balkan initiative is working?
We have Open Balkan. We have CEFTA. CEFTA is protocol which our country already signed before more than 10 years ago, and if we finished with all protocols from CEFTA, Central Free Trade Agreement, we don't need any additional. I mean that I can tell Open Balkan is political story. CEFTA is economical story. I'm speaking in the name of economic, and we are Chamber of Commerce. Look, we have the same details sometimes, but we see each other in the first time.
That's it. Super. Does anyone else have any questions about? I think we also mentioned about taking specialisms from the region to Nigeria, specialist skill sets, specialist products and services that can't be found in other markets. Does anyone else have any thoughts about particular strengths from the region that could be exported to Nigeria?
I have a question. I was wondering, what do you think needs to be done for, given what you've just said, to get the Nigerians to communicate with business people in Bosnia?
It's easier. It's really easier. Not generally with business people in our Balkan region. For example, it is I mentioned the most important thing that is way through the Chamber of Commerce. Our association in Chamber of Commerces established by type that we have the all company in some sector on one place. From institution Chamber of Commerce, we give them some kind of technical officers. These technical officers must recognize everything in this area. For example, some company from Nigeria asked for some concrete detailed requirement for import some goods, export some goods, try to find some partnership for together investment, I don't know, everything, but with the detail, with special detail, which kind of products, which kind of services, which kind of business relationship. According to this requirement, we recognize some, for example, specific company which can, we will not put on the websites, you know, on some media or news, and with Nigerian company asked for some additional. No, our technical officers in Chamber of Commerce in Bosnia, Serbia, recognize who will be good, reputable partnership with Nigerian company. Because that I mentioned with special company for engineering servicing in oil infrastructure projects, generally engineering services in reconstruction projects, in pharmaceutical industry, and so on and so on.
Super. Thank you. Thanks for that input. So, finally, last but not least, Mrs. Arjana MAKSIMCHUK, CEO of TELEMAX.
Yes.
So you're actually doing work and in the private sector, I guess.
Yes.
Do you want to say a bit more about your business, and we'll then go through your presentation. And before we do that, we'll be skipping ahead on the agenda. We'll break for coffee in the next 10 minutes or so. Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank you, Her Excellency, to invitation me in this conference. I'm very glad because my history with Nigerian company 3 years ago started, because in our business center TELEMAX in Banja Luka, we have pleasure to have neighborhood in our business center, Nigerian firm Robert Johnson, and it's a lot of meeting and a lot of discuss was 3 years ago with a guy from firm Nigerian firm Robert Johnson, and I found a lot of very interesting detail. As we producer, TELEMAX producer in renewable resource, producer a lot of equipment as solar smart benches and bus station, and we design and has installation with the solar power plant. And I'm sure that this kind of activity is very attractive for Nigeria market. One side, but the other side, always I little afraid, because we are so small, or our firms in Bosnia and Herzegovina is so small for big market in Nigeria. But across economic chamber, and if we make a big cluster in Bosnia, maybe we can answer on Nigeria necessary. I'm very glad to have a chance to discuss today with possibility and opportunity how to develop our firm, how to develop our country, and how to make connection with this.
Super. Thank you.
Thank you.
So. So you've worked with Nigerian companies in Bosnia. What were the main barriers?
No, we don't work. We have only very close, friendly relationship. We don't. We have attention to go on Nigerian market.
Super. So what were the barriers for entry for that you would see about moving into Nigeria? How could those be overcome?
Moving?
If you were to invest in Nigeria, do business in Nigeria, what barriers would you see? How would you overcome those, do you think?
If I want to invest in Nigeria,
yes.
The first of all, economic chamber is the first address. We have, as I heard in history, Nigeria and Serbia has a lot of very close relationship, because of many students from Nigeria study in Serbia, and many people lived in Nigeria. And the first of all, how to say, I want to know which country, what is the possibility, how to import, how to connect, what is the law in electricity, because renewable is our area, and definitely economic of chamber and embassy and this kind of people who is present today is very important for business firm who want to invest in Nigeria.
Super. So we had some inquiries from chamber representatives in North Macedonia, Montenegro, and they can see particularly opportunities in pharmaceuticals, in renewable energy. I think the challenges they had was having visibility and having communication and knowing what the opportunities were and what were the incentives available to encourage investment. So I think that will be something to explore further. I think that's it for now. Unless anybody else has any questions or topics to raise.
May I make some addition?
Of course.
It's really good to have the information that in our country we have so many activity regarding to renewable resources. You know, we have the big hydropower plants in Bosnia, and this is also absolutely independent country regarding to energy sector. But we are now focused on the renewable resources. We have association for renewable resources in Chamber of Commerce, and in the last week of September will be organized a Sarajevo Energy and Climate Week. Everybody can look in the website SECW, and they can get everything, information about that regarding to agenda for participation, everything. It will be 5 days conferences, more than 200 panelists regarding to energy resources, energy, or project in future regarding to complete region, not only for Bosnia and Herzegovina, for complete region, Southeast Europe, especially according to energy community and everything.
Very interesting.
All right, thank you very much. On behalf of Siwaba and the partners, we want to thank our special guests for your time today. And we believe that all that have been said will try and put an action plan in place. So my own understanding is that, yes, there are potentials and possibilities from Nigeria, and there are interests as well from the Balkans, but there is need for a platform to coordinate these. Based on what James ended with, there's need for visibility, knowing, and making sure that this is not just a talk show as we've had. We have a backup plan for this to ensure that today's meeting is not just talk show. We have Nigerian Balkan Business Hub, which will be a follow-up to this forum. With that, we'll be able to facilitate and coordinate interest from the Balkans and relate with. We work in partnership with Nigerian Embassy, and it will be a great pleasure to also, since we are now partners with the Lagos Chamber of Commerce, it will be very easy for us to communicate the interest of the Balkans to your chamber, sir, and also to here, to lead the Nigerian companies through the Lagos Chamber to Balkans. Thank you so much for that. We are aware that there are participants online that have questions. We will treat that after we come back from the coffee break. Before we we'll give the floor to the various Chamber of Commerces that are indoor. So let's meet in the next 5 minutes, please. And please, our break that is initially meant for 12 has been shifted to 12:30, so that after the coffee break, we just come back and listen to the Chamber's presentation, then we'll go for the break. Thank you very much. See you in 5 minutes.
Thank you.
In 5 minutes, 5 minutes for coffee break. Let's just stretch our hand. It's impossible to take the coffee for 5 minutes. All right, let's make it 10 minutes. Welcome to the Balkans, where you have to drink coffee. And so is cigarettes. All right, then. All right, let's meet in 10 minutes back. Excuse me.
say that later because, like I've said,